quick intro for Chris, and Chris can probably do a better intro than I can about himself. But Chris is the head of assets at DNEG TV, and he was at MPC before that, and was at Framestore as well before that.
Yeah, I was at Framestore, CineSite as well.
Framestore, CineSite. And I met Chris, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we just spoke about modeling, texturing, pipeline, assets, and stuff like that. So so he has a good gamut of information in terms of taking an asset from start to finish in the production pipeline. So if you do have any questions about industry and show reels and things like that as well, he's a good person to ask, because that's what he'll also be doing on a regular basis, which is looking at show reels, people's work. So if you have any questions about what you should put in a reel, if you're kind of going for assets, then ask him while he's here, and feel free to do so.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So should we kick off, Chris? Or
yeah, sure, cool.
You want to share your screen, Chris? Because I guess you're going to do most of the drawovers.
Okay. Cool. Let me just.
And we'll start with Abby. Is that all right to start with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And you've done, this is your a logo animation that you did in Unreal.
Yeah, I was actually just testing how Alembic workflow worked between Maya and Unreal.
Okay.
And I just used simple mesh animation to get to where it is, and I used Quixel materials to get this iron look. So my target was just to get a simple logo animation so that I can put it before showreel or after showreel. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just experimentation as of now, and I just wanted to get your reviews on how more I can develop it, and any ideas or anything we can bounce off. So, yeah.
Okay, so logo based, is the logo actually based for any company particular?
I use this for my self promotions and
Okay.
like just to have a tagline on things. So this is also one of my Instagram handles. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Let me start going for it. Okay,
so you're thinking of putting this into the kind of beginning of your work, your show reel, and then possibly at the end, sign in, sign out kind of thing.
Yes, specifically the last part, like where you actually see the logo come in, and maybe I could slow it down and just put it like at the end of things.
Yeah.
Or if I have the opportunity, like if I create a longer content, and I can just put in the whole thing. Or I was also thinking of adding more shots and those things, but I'm not really sure how to go along with it. This is just the first try, and I wanted to know, preliminary input from you guys, and just a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I think I like, just out of a personal opinion, I do like how this starts and it's kind of Terminator, kind of futuristic. I like how things go up and down. There's depth of field, and I think what I would say, and I like the attention to detail on the scratches and the stuff on the surface here, and how even at the beginning you see the catches on the edges of these objects. Did you put any supporting edge line around any of these objects?
No, actually what I did to get this logo made in 3D was just take Illustrator curves and directly put it in Maya and put a planar mapping on it to get the mesh and just triangulate it. I did not put any supporting edges.
Okay.
Those.
Yeah, it's very, very sharp. It depends on what you want to go for, but I think as soon as it comes out and we catch something, I'm not too worried. If you wanted to catch an edge, then you would.
Yeah.
I mean, like here, you can see kind of a bit of triangle.
Oh, yeah.
And then also the thing that caught my eye right at the end is, in terms of topology, you get, like around these spheres, you get a bit of
faceting. Yeah.
Faceting.
Yeah, that's the low res. I should probably increase it.
Yeah, I think, but other than that, the material for what you're going for and the quality looks quite good. What did you render this in?
Unreal.
Unreal.
Unreal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Chris. What I felt, but it's going to be quite tricky to solve because I guess you want that very clean edge at the beginning, right? So
Yeah.
you've got the flat surface. So therefore, if you start beveling the edges and adding supporting edges, it's probably going to catch the light from here, which you don't want. You want it to be flat. So you might have to do something that allows you to switch the geometry to another version where it then does have the beveled edges, because yeah, we're not, and it feels quite primitive because it doesn't have the supporting edges there.
I mean, the reason why it looks okay and fine is because you've got a lot of depth of field and stuff and focus plane, which kind of blurs some of these edges that if this was sharp, it'd be probably too sharp. It look too CG, but it's fine for this. The only way to really do it is, as Jez, it's like having the curves, and then you'll have to, which is time consuming, which would be building this from the curves, you know, lofting down, connecting the faces up. So it's a bit more topology work. I remember doing a kind of logo like this before and using the kind of illustrated curves, and then from there figuring out. I think, to be honest, there are some newer tools in mind that will be able to set the face, and then you can actually put a little bevel on, switching out two geometries, and you're getting there quicker than in the old school, which would be kind of having to figure out how to join all these faces up nicely on the top surface. It's easy enough to get the sides from the illustrated curves and playing around with curves in Maya to get the right amount of points to give you the right surface for them to then all match up perfectly on this plane. I mean,
yeah, I can look into that. I can see if I can work with geometry more and figure that bit out.
And I'm guessing there'll be some sound and stuff happening with it as well, because obviously it's
absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking of futuristic metallic sound as if it's developing, and then a little chime at the end, so that I can just get the last bit out separately as well.
What would be nice is I'm just going to share my screen. Is that all right, Chris?
Yeah, go for it.
Is let me pick one. Yeah, I guess if it started, why is that not working? When it does open up, if it did have those beveled edges, your light would just start to travel around, you know, your highlights and things like that, and that always works really well when you've got the highlight kind of, you know, swimming through the shot, leading the eye, etc. Like here, for example, if this was beveled and it just had that edge, this is going to be a very thick edge, but it would just allow that highlight.
Just a little bevel on it.
Yeah, it would just allow that highlight to travel down the geometry as you're moving your camera, and then you get that very nice kind of ping, you know, lots of pings happening as you would a car. Like if you're doing a car and there's a camera move going past, for all the hard edges on the car, usually there's this just nice highlight that travels down, which really leads the eye and kind of helps sell the story.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, because it's I think it's looking great. I kind of like the motion you've got going. Really comes alive. It's just a shame that we're not catching so much here. It might be worth just taking this geometry here, for example, doing a very quick bevel of the geo just to see what it looks like, and then just rendering that in Unreal just to see if it catches the light before you go to town with adding lots of detail.
Got it. Yeah,
you don't want to spend lots of time doing it and then being like, oh, actually, it didn't do much at all, and I've just spent a day, you know, wasting time. So maybe just take a few pieces, bevel them up, and see how that goes. And also, you can cheat it, right? There's no, you know,
you could start off with a complete, you know, replace that, put a flat plane on the surface, and then somehow over the few frames hide it as stuff comes out.
Yeah, just do a visibility switch. And then as it comes here, for example, it's a different shot anyway. So this geo could be beveled as a different shot, and then you just carry that on. So you basically cheat it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, to be honest. Like, I didn't think about it.
Yeah, the more shots that you have where there's a switch, that's when to change stuff. That's when to cheat as much as you can. And that's where to cover things up. You know, if you watch anything where they're walking through a jungle or a wood or something, you know, they'll usually switch or hide things behind a tree or a pillar. I think it was Thor. I think it's the second Thor where Thor is walking with his brother Loki. This is them walking. When he escapes from prison, that's Loki. Let me give him some hair. I think Thor's got long hair as well. Anyway, so that's them. But anytime they switch his character to a different one, he just walks past a pillar. You know, it's an old gag.
Oh yeah, the Captain America and those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a classic gag, but shot changes are great for switching the geometry without people knowing, switching, you know, textures, going more high res, etc. Anything you can do off camera, then, you know, take advantage of that, because this one here for me feels like the kind of the close-up nice shot where we should be able to fill these textures, we should be able to fill the edges. It's a macro shot.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because if you are going to use depth of field, which you are, then just do it on the actual objects that you're really going to see crisp and clean. So
got it. Yeah. And I want to do this experimentation more, because that's the whole reason I started, like, used Unreal for it.
Yeah.
Instead of actually going with any proper animation.
Yeah. I mean, Unreal's great for experimenting and even getting final renders. I'm playing with it at the minute, and you just can't do stuff in Maya at the speed in which you can in Unreal. So
exactly.
Yeah, and even with this depth of field and all of that stuff, it just takes forever in Maya. So that's why it's great to see it at this stage already.
Absolutely.
So is this because actually, so we're doing a few projects at the moment with Unreal for actually directors. It's more for previs purposes. But
what's your production?
Is this an actual render? Because I haven't jumped in. Is this an actual render live? Did you render it, or is this actually in? Did you just capture what you see through your camera?
It's the same, to be honest.
It's all the same.
What I did was I just there's the level sequencer feature, so I just rendered the screen from it and as the actor and upraised it a bit. Yeah. But it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, and you've got ray tracing on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd maybe tone down slightly or play with is this bit here is very bright, and I know you want to lead the eye, etc., but it's kind of blown out.
Yeah, I can check
too much maybe. So you might want to just tone it down slightly, just so we're picking up some details here. Because at the minute we've got nothing there. There's no information basically. I actually sometimes underexpose my renders, and then if it's anyway, this is Maya Arnold, so I haven't played with it in Unreal, but I underexpose, so I always now can crank things up. But as soon as something's blown out, you usually can't bring that information back. There's nothing there.
Yeah, because you can't see any of the scratch detail that you could have caught. If you then
that's a very good point.
So maybe just, I mean, it's nice that it's bright. You just might want to crank it down slightly and then push it in post just to see if you do want to blow it out a bit more. But at the minute, it's the brightest spot of the image will always be where we're going to look at. That's what catches our eye. And looking here, we're not seeing anything, right? So that's why I say the ping would be nice, because it would lead the eye, it will travel, and it allows us to kind of work our way through the image. But I'd probably look at maybe seeing if there's something you can do to tone that back slightly.
That's a really good point. I'll work with that.
I have to do a lot of car renders, and they hate things that look blown out. It's always, no, get rid of it. Because they just can't tell what color it is or anything. It's not there.
Cool. Yeah, I can do that. hopefully by the next iteration or next daily, I can get a better version of it.
Well, that'd be great. And I think just having more steam maybe come out in places like this, just pockets.
Yeah, I haven't worked with any effects yet. I will look into it though. That's a very good point. The steam and
it might be quite nice. It would just be nice with the sound. I think that, and then it's all starting to move.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, you could start it from like when it cracks open, maybe.
Yeah. Same from actually no. That you can see here. It's not as bright. I'm still seeing information about the asset. It's not blown out so much. So just maybe toning it down to that much, with a few very strong highlights to make it pop.
Yeah,
just on the other one.
Yeah, I can do that.
Go to the final limit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you go straight in. Okay. Because there's two ways of resolving this.
Yeah.
You could do, that's the thing. But what I'm thinking is if you wanted to go to frame, jump back a few frames.
Did you on the screen, Chris? Just grab it.
Yeah, I could just grab it. What you could do is, so there's two ways, because it's turning from a corner here.
Yeah.
Usually what would happen, you stop here and resolve to a flat, a flat image. So that would be the standard, so you leave on this logo. But is there a desire to go straight through? If it is, then you do need to really make sure this geometry holds up. And I feel at this point, the geometry once again, are you having motion? Is this motion blurred?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it looks like
because for the reviews, I thought I should not put motion blur on just for the initial test.
Yeah, because if you do shoot past, then the only thing that will save you here is enough motion blur to not think about it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
But otherwise, the other option would be, as this kind of turns from here, like to face us, it resolves into the actual logo, black and white, or whatever or a flat, rather than being 3D anymore, 2D.
Yeah, I can do that because it's still a work in progress and there's nothing concrete at the moment. So I can totally work with that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if the hold on the name needs to be slightly longer too. Like usually they'll say, was it 12 frames is enough to read something? But if it's a logo and you want to read the name, I probably want to leave it for a second or two. Yeah, although you can read it because it's turning slowly. I don't know.
Yeah, I would. For me personally, I would hold it there. If this logo is your thing and you want to sell it, then I would just hold it. Unless there's a reason why in the story arc, there's a reason why it needs to come past camera, other than it being something kind of superhero based.
Yeah, and I think as it comes through the camera anyway, it should be quicker. As it leaves, it feels a bit slow going out. So maybe you just play with the timing.
Yeah, I will definitely.
Just quickly though, I guess, because so this logo, Ace Alchemy, it feels more like a company and not an individual. So is the idea that this would be for like a company branding, or would this be?
That was the initial idea. Yeah, that was the initial idea, but I'm still playing around with the thought and all the whole thing.
But are you thinking that this would go on the front and end of your personal showreel as well?
Not exactly personal showreel, but if I ever do any client projects or any major projects in the future, then maybe I can. Yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of, if you do a project, it's your branding to say this project is made by Ace Alchemy, which is yourself. But if you're doing a personal reel, it would be your name, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Because I think I've had a showreel sent to me once, or a couple, and I was really confused because they had set it up as if they were a company, but it was a personal project. So it was one of those things of, we're not looking to outsource, what we're doing. and they were like, oh no, I'm not an outsource company. I want to work for your company. It's like, okay. So yeah, I think you just want to be clear, but yeah, like you say, you are going to be clear. This is more for branding on a project or a company sort of thing, not an individual.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you got any more notes on that, Chris or Abby?
No, I think that's good for the moment, unless you want to ask me some questions or.
Just one more thought, like, are there any shots that you would personally recommend to see in this kind of shape language, or like, you know, playing with the camera more? Because I only have 2 shots right now at the moment, and I can develop more on this. And yeah.
I mean, for me, I think keep it simple in terms of the number of shots. I think if you go back to the first frame,
one.
I guess, again, I'm just thinking in terms of beats. It's always moving. Something's always moving from the start, right? The camera's moving from the start. And then the logo's turning at the end. Now, the second shot, I think, works really well with everything, but I don't know if the first one, it might be worth, like from frame 0, it might be worth just having that as a static, and then you get the where it suddenly starts to separate, and then the camera starts moving with that.
I note that down. That's
just again, just for experimenting, you might want to test that in Unreal.
Definitely,
because it kind of feels like, hey, something's going to happen, and the anticipation's already going with the camera. Where if it was all as it is, and then there's that kind of poof, and then the camera starts panning, like, whoa, geez, that might be nice. Again, I think the number of shots is good. My only other thing would be the timing at the end on the final shot. It feels like it possibly needs to be quicker, because if we look at the whole thing, what is it? How long is the whole thing? It's 400 frames almost.
360.
360. So what's that by 25? Chris, your maths is better than mine.
It's
360 by 25 is 14 seconds. So it's quite a long intro. So, and I think this is the part where it's the longest.
The transition from here to there, you should do it in about, like, if I was playing, it should be like that.
Yes. Maybe, I would say.
I totally agree with you.
I would go up to here, hold 1, 2, and then.
Yeah. Maybe slightly slower.
Or you could just leave it on a hold and leave it like that.
Yeah, and you could do that.
The thing is, I spoke to a lot of people, because on Reels I've seen a lot of the time people do their quick times and stuff, and at the end they might just leave the video on. Now, if the end frame of the video is black, that's the last thing they're going to see. If the last frame of the video is that,
I see what you mean.
Then they'll remember your brand, if they've got it on their machine. So sometimes it's worth holding on something.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Yeah, that is actually something really I did not consider before. Thank you.
Cool, but yeah, no, it looks good.
That's cool.
It's I think once it's got sound, you've got some, maybe, I don't know, lens flares might be a bit cheesy nowadays, but you kind of, I'm going to call it the After Effects stage, because there's always that stuff you can push in post. You might play with some filters, you might play with some exposure, crank up.
Yeah, a little, you could even, slight dust and thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that I can play on this. I would actually enjoy that quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think that would just give it a nice level of polish, just at the end.
Got it.
I think I agree with Jay that maybe, you should try doing a hold. So we're not expecting something to happen. Then there's cracks, and suddenly it starts moving, and then we travel over stuff. So in a way, you hold, even though this is one long shot here, it's like maybe, we hold, we see it crack, and then you start, as it breaks apart, you figure a way where you travel.
I'm only thinking, like, when, as a person or whatever, when you look at something that's new, you tend to stay still looking at it because you're curious. But then as soon as the thing moves, that will then make you move. Like if you're going to see a bug for the first time as a kid, you'll walk up to it, you'll look at it and go, what is this thing? And then as soon as it starts to move, that gets you excited. So you're now going with that. So it's kind of just, for me, trying to take those natural kind of reactions from people and put it in your work. But if we're already moving to begin with, then we already know something's happening, something's going on, because we're working around something.
It's in the movement. Because every time I'm watching this now, I'm just thinking of like how we move around kind of the Marvel logo.
Yeah.
But maybe, as you're moving around, as long as in a way there's a relationship to the movements that you're doing on here, I think what will benefit is, because I feel the movement from these two shots, in terms of this is coming up and then suddenly this one's turning towards us.
Yeah.
If in any way you can have some kind of relationship of movements between them, might help a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, you'd have to have a play.
Yeah.
That sometimes subtly ties stuff together. So if something's moving this way and the next one's moving this way, you get a feel that everything's coming maybe towards you. Or, whereas with this one, the last two, they're in a kind of, that one
disjointed, yeah.
And then that one's coming. They don't necessarily have a relationship. Whereas these are opposites. Feel like we're going down here, and this one we feel like we're coming up. So there is some kind of relationship that they're opposites. Yeah, it's just something to think about and see how that, because Unreal's fast, you can play with these cameras and see if it helps or benefits in that way.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I can do that. Definitely.
Cool. Okay. Should we move on to Brenda?
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your help.
No worries. It's looking great. Yeah, it's a nice little piece, I think.
Thank you.
Cool.
And it's great you're playing with Unreal again. I think there's so much going into Unreal at the minute in terms of work and people want skills. People want people with skills with Epic Unreal. UE4, 5 soon. So
yeah,
it's a good thing to start dabbling in, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Do I hit send before I jump across, or?
Yeah, I mean, usually it just saves images and pictures. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're moving on to Brenda. I think Brenda's here.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Cool. So this is your animation reel.
Yeah.
And is this most of the stuff you're doing at Bournemouth?
Actually, I think most of the only stuff that is here is all the stuff I've been doing during my masters.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, yeah, let's hit play.
Famous characters from Spanish literature, and one of the most famous novels of all time.
Oh, let me turn the sound off on my end.
So, okay, so is this your second or first year in Masters?
So this is my first year in Masters, but I did my undergrad in Bournemouth as well. So I just finished and I went straight into Masters. So technically fourth year of animation.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no. I did my 2001 postgraduate in animation before I went. And it was, like a lot of the kind of... is there a way of turning, if I mute that, will that turn off? Cool.
Yeah, you should be able to mute it.
Okay. Like, the key things, squash, stretch, weight, timing, all these things that, I suppose, is this ball something they hand you at Bournemouth to play with? Ball with legs?
Yeah, we have a ball with legs assignment.
Okay. So how do you enjoy doing this?
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I tried to go for a weird approach. So kind of mixing this little ball with two legs. In the previous one, where it's kind of like chasing a laser. It was inspired by my dog.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it right from the beginning. Let's do 101. So is the koala, it looks like it, is one you've done, a film that you've done this year?
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of really, yeah, the design's really nice.
Thank you.
It's a great shot to start with, I reckon. It's a nice, really polished shot, well lit, well rendered, well animated. It's got a story as well, which is great.
Yeah, there's nice subtleties in it.
So what are you looking to do when you graduate? Are you aiming for studios kind of Blue Zoo, feature animation, Disney Pixar style, rather than VFX and games maybe? Is that the kind of market you're heading towards?
I mean, I think I'm in a weird situation. Everyone I talk to always tells me I have to decide which side I want to go for.
Yeah.
But I kind of like mixing them both, which I know is a bit weird. Like, for example, with this ball with legs, I was mixing a dog reference of a creature with this ball in order to make something. So I don't know. I'm just finding it interesting to just mix things together to make something new. Yeah. And that's where I get pulled by both sides in feature animation, where you have something that you can completely make new, and then in VFX when you have all these crazy creatures that you're just making up and you're just making them feel alive. So I'm like in this mid-ground. Yeah,
no, it is a tough one to crack, because although all the principles are the same, and it was good when I was at a big VFX company that did both feature animation and VFX. It was good to hear that those in VFX and those in feature animation, they could still see the core principles in a cartoony reel, so they were suitable for VFX, or in a realistic reel, so they were suitable for feature animation.
I mean, what I'd say is you've got a very bit in here. So like the fact that you're showing weight and timing and movement and stuff, if your reel was purely just this, right, which I have seen, like two guys with Comic Key, it's harder to present this reel to a VFX house but with the fact that you're showing walk cycles, you're showing, in a way, some timing, even because the koala has, this is showing kind of your understanding of pose to pose, and, four-legged koala, and then just your timing aspects of this character. I would say you've got good timing. What would be nice is to get some pieces that you did something where you really showed, and it was on this one. Let me just move this one away. Yeah, kind of something that had like something that's got weight in it, like an elephant or a T-Rex, something that can really show weight to it, just to show that as an extra, because a lot, even though these things have it, but showing something that when it puts its foot down, there's this feeling of real momentum and weight, mass behind it, which is also another good thing, that as you progress, try something like that. But it's nice to see your timing is very good. Yeah. And I like the poses that you've placed from getting, and it really works with this koala bear. Look, when I saw the koala bear, especially when it comes down here and sniffs, I could have imagined that being something I would see on TV. So Joe, you
Thank
going to say
you.
something?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to talk about a different shot, but you carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. I think the only thing here, I felt the lip sync. Let me put this on.
Characters from Spanish literature and one of the most famous novels of all time. One of the most famous novels of all time.
I read it, but I think. Did you make all your blend? Who made the blend shape or the face shapes or the phonemes for this character? Did you?
I mean, I think I was just doing it as I was going. To be fair, that's my first lip sync, so that's the one I'm most scared about. So if you want to give me loads of feedback, for example, on that one, really.
Yeah, I think there's a level when you're doing this character. I mean, or doing a character like this, you really need to sometimes you need to hit you can see, hit some of the vowels or the big things that help. Like when I'm talking away, you'll notice the A's and the E's and when I'm going to say a B or something. And they're the things that read. And then it's also making sure that wherever you put that key, it's like one frame before it actually happens for it to read strongly. And having the punches, sometimes you don't actually have to do all because I'm imagining this wasn't set up with a fax system. Do you understand? Have you used any fax rigs?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I mean, so you're probably using phoneme-based stuff. There was how did you
So this one just has some keys within all the mouth, like little little controls all around the mouth, and it works a little bit like what's the word? I forgot the word.
Joint-based setup?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't the one making the rig.
okay.
I think it was.
I'm guessing it can do sort of wide shapes, narrow shapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it had quite a lot of controls, so I could definitely like go back and really like hit those keys for what you were saying of the movement of the vowels.
Yeah. It's like if you had a whole load, because what you kind of generally need is you need a smile like that. You need a open R. You need if you're doing phoneme, you need a oo. You need a like per. You need those ones, and then if you have a collection, then you go through his sentence, what he needs to say, and you hit the major things that you need, and then you go back. First of all, you do the jaw open close for most of it. Well, that ties in to get the beats, and then you go in with the specific shapes to place them. And when you feel like it's hit, I mean, I can read it, which is one good thing.
Famous characters from Spanish literature and one of the most famous novels of all time.
See, time works on timing.
From Spanish literature and one of the most famous novels of all time.
Yeah, maybe it's just you've got too much to simplify it and make sure you hit stuff.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that's what I was going to say is, and I haven't turned the sound on again here because I didn't want to interrupt, but it feels like his mouth's doing a lot of movement, and maybe some of that, like Chris says, could be simplified to just hit those core shapes and core vowels essentially, or whatever he needs to hit speech-wise.
Yeah. Do you want to take over, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, if we just start with this one, the only thing I was going to say, if I just share this screen, is again, I'm just being picky now because
no, please, that's the best thing.
It's a nice reel, and why not? Let's just be picky. Small things, for example, you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where'd it go? I think it's on the way back. Is it? Or sorry, no. It's just a couple frames where, or maybe I dreamt it. Oh, it's weird. There we go. So again, I'm being picky. you just want an animation supervisor. And they might go through it quickly, but if they have a bit of time, they might start doing this. And as soon as they start seeing, small things where the fingers are just going through the book here, for example, they'll just be like, attention to detail. We can't have that in a shot. So just double checking, everything once you're happy with it is an important thing. Animation, cleanliness, let's call it hygiene. Something to look for. I'm just going to turn the sound on because I just want to.
Famous characters from Spanish literature, and one of the most famous novels of all.
I think it's there. There's. Sorry.
And one of the most famous novels.
Yeah. You can see, and I think this is what Chris is saying. I'll just mute it here. It's around here. There's a lot happening at the same time, or not at the same time, but because you're trying to hit everything, it feels like every knob, vowels, etc. We're probably just putting in too much into the lips. Where I think if you just took almost knob vowel, you can kind of string some of these shapes together. I think so. Lead one shape into the next, so you don't have to hit everything. As long as you're hitting the jaw opening, the wides and the narrows, then most of it should come through. So again, I'm just being picky.
Yeah. If you were to look at the original 2D Jungle Book, and watch, let's say, is it Jungle? I hope it's Jungle. I think it's Shere Khan talking. You'll see they don't, and you slow down just the bits of Shere Khan. He doesn't use that many shapes. Yet you get beautiful animation. So it might be worth just checking a few sequences of that and see I'm talking about the original 2D.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you.
And again, small things. I know his arm's coming through now, but it's not as readable because in one frame we've gone from here to up here, and then I know it's motion blurred, etc. But it's not as readable as it could be. So maybe there's a different way to kind of show that this arm is going to come across. Maybe it comes across afterwards. So once he's pulled the book back, then he pulls his arm across, because it just gets a bit muddled at that stage. But again, we're being picky, I would say. The one thing I did keep noticing, and I kept watching the whole reel back, and again, I agree with Chris, the koala, I thought was great. There's some really nice subtle movement happening there with his nose. I really like, your starting shot of him going up. It's a good idea that you've put the style that you were going for, because people might think you've not done the in-betweens and stuff like that. So it's good that you've added that. Yeah, this is really nice here. So the one shot that I think I'd probably take out even, I'm just looking at this one again. Yeah, this is all really nice. I'll come back to this one. I'm just going to the koala for now. Yeah, I like the way it comes into focus. Yeah, this one's done really well. It's this one here, the bouncy ball. I think this is your weakest piece. And if we play it back, I don't know how smooth it is. Because when we cut to it, it feels like the ball has bounced in, but I don't know where from, because it's already going. Yeah. We don't see it bounce in. So it kind of feels like it hasn't bounced in. It feels like it just starts from this position, but then somehow it gets some energy, so it's alive.
Could you just play it once?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that, unless you were telling a story with it, unless you gave it more than, because it's bouncing, it's got life. Yeah. Unless you give it some purpose or some, other than it being a ball, it's like, what are you showing us? What are you trying to sell? If I was someone trying to employ you as an animator, what are you telling me with that piece that you have to put yourself into that mindset.
Yeah. And if you're trying to show your animation skills, you've already done it with the koala. With this, the way it comes in and then it kind of turns in the air and then bounces, in that direction, it doesn't feel as clean as it could. Maybe it could have landed like this, and then it could have done a side jump, for example. So you see it spin that way. But I kind of missed that it's turning in the air a few times. And therefore, I just thought it's heading in that direction, but then suddenly it pops over here.
Yeah, I mean, once again, if you wanted to give it personality, really give it personality, like really, and then there should be a turning point. It should be like, oh, I'm really happy ball, and then suddenly something happens, and then it's, got a completely different personality, showing that you can give an inanimate object the feeling that it's got mood, and it's got feeling. That is something that's of value, but that piece doesn't really. It's just bouncing. It's kind of happy, but it doesn't tell me much. It's slightly curious.
Yeah, and I think it's because it ends as well, where it's just up here. Also, again, I'm being picky. It's certain bits about this shot that just kind of put me off it, which is this can, for example. It just doesn't feel as polished as a piece, and the animation isn't as strong as the koala. So I go from this, looking at your reel, I'm seeing this really nice shot to begin with. We go back here. We start off really high. It's like great, solid piece. Great intro. We've got some, kind of dog style, some acrobatics.
Yeah.
Really nice roll happening there as well. Actually, there might be there could be this pose maybe feels a bit weird as he rolls. Because it kind of holds, so the motion kind of stops, and then it's like he's sliding slightly and not rolling, maybe. And we go to this nice shot again. So throughout looking at your reel, we're going from strong piece to strong piece, and even in just overall look, this one just feels like it kind of brings it down. And now at that stage, you've got to bring us back up, and then we got this piece, which isn't as polished, let's say, as your koala piece. This one ends pretty well, but again, your koala stuff was strong. So if we think about your reel, as a viewer, it's a horrible color. Can't see. Let's just do it in black. As a viewer, we basically start up here and go great koala, and then we come down to the acrobatics, which isn't as strong. Koala comes up, and then we got the bouncy ball, and now you got to get us back up to here. So when I think about your work, I'm like, yeah, this is the person with the koala. We go to the lip sync, and then we go to this piece, which is maybe around here. I would say if we can keep your work at that level here throughout, and there isn't this dip, then it will just give you a more polished reel, and it will look like this person hasn't just thrown in some extra pieces to make up time. They've put in their best bits. Because this one, again, there's a few tweaks you can make and it would still be nice. But this one just overall doesn't feel as polished. Is this your first animation piece?
Not my first ever, but the first one that we had during the Masters.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it doesn't feel as strong. And everything in terms of timing and weight, character, charm, I can see in this piece. And I kind of don't want you to break that in terms of when I'm personally, again, I'm not an animation supervisor, but I don't want to then look at a shot that makes me go, this person still thinks that some of these bits are okay. Because if they think it's okay here, then they'll think it's okay in my shot. So yeah, it just doesn't feel as polished, I would say.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I mean, once again, there's levels. So, okay, if I was an animation supervisor for checking stuff, I would. Yeah, I know that these ones with the ball and leg, it doesn't have to be completely. Yeah, it could in theory, because I know it's. I know it's a test thing. When you're showing something as an example of what you're going to do, then I know that this one doesn't need to be fully rendered because it's a showing of your animation skills. So the koala as a finished piece. I think, once again, if you're showing something that's to show that you have timing or something and isn't part of a movie like the koala or something, then I don't actually expect it. I want to see your animation clear as possible. I also don't want to be distracted by the shader work.
Mm-hmm.
So, or anything like that. So if we went back to the bull, for example, I think the other thing is, yeah, it would have, once again, like, I wouldn't have tried to do anything properly with shit. I would have kept it all, if I was truly working on this to get the ball really with something, it would all be grey, you know. I wouldn't attempt to make it really nice, and it just needs to be presentable that I can see your animation as clearly as possible through it. I think that's the key with it. If it was, you know, however, Jay, can I take the screen?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so could you just tell us about, in terms of rendering these things, like, for example, are you rendering, are you lighting it as well? So on your master's course, are you expected to do everything?
So in the master's course, you learn a little bit of everything, and then later on, there's several projects in which you can collaborate. So the koala one is actually a group project. So it was me and another 5 people, so it was 6 of us. But in projects like this one that is just on the screen with this little guy, that was just by myself. I just asked to use the rig by someone else. So that's not my character and not my rig, but yeah, I just put it into the scene. So in this case, I have to light it and render it myself.
Okay, cool. It is also clear to know, like, when you're going somewhere, if you're wanting like a big VFX house, right, and you just you're putting yourself forward as an animator, they will only purely look at, or try and look at, your animation. Mm-hmm. If it was a smaller house, like Possible Passion Pictures or one of the smaller brands that do quite more, then an animator could also light and comp a bit and let depending on how small the company is. For one of the bigger houses, it's more likely that if you personally, do you want to be just an animator, or how do you feel?
I mean, my favorite one would be animation. I would like to fully specialized. I am trying to kind of like second specialize in composting. It's kind of like me playing it safe, just in case. Who knows what happens? But everything else, I wouldn't want to be a generalist, so I'm not really interested in any other department. So if I could, I would specialize fully in animation.
Yeah, I think go with your passion. I think, once again, what drives you is going to come through in your work. I think this is a key thing. So, I think one thing that I was taught when I was doing my stuff and I was throwing, if you haven't got to a stage with animation or your piece, you've done really nice animation, but then don't bother putting, if you don't have enough time, don't bother putting shaders on because you just think you have to. It's better off showing your animation off if it's nice and just grey and simple than attempting to put shaders and lighting in that doesn't help or distracts from your animation. Just be wary of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what Jay thinks. I think this is lit quite nice and shader works quite good.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I agree with Chris. I think if you can't light it and shade it to a good level, it doesn't have to be amazing, then just keep it simple. But it's always nice to see color, light on things. So if you can light your shots like this, if they all look like this, then great. I would say do that if it doesn't take you too long. But again, if it looks kind of not as good as that, like the books one doesn't feel as polished, shader wise, then just keep it simple. Maybe, yeah I'd agree. because the other pieces are more polished. Even these ones that are rendered, they look nice rendered. I would say as a grey thing, if this was all in grayscale, I'd probably be, too grayed out. There'd be too much grey for my liking. But it looks good still. The lighting feels nice. It feels warm. It feels, again, it reminds me of a Blue Zoo animation kids TV show. It has that character and charm to it. The books one doesn't. The shaders are very flat, and therefore it doesn't feel as solid.
What I'd like to see on here. So when we're talking about timing and stuff, is like the feeling of him smacking. We feel it more to do. I'm going to change my color. We feel it more because of two things. Like one, you've done a camera shake.
Yeah.
I would like to see the impact of him bang without. It'd be nice to see kind of impact without the support of necessarily the camera shake. And also, was the reason for adding the stars?
I think it was just more like a little joke, more like Looney Tunes inspired, when you just fall because you're a bit dizzy.
Okay.
And I think with this one is it's a bit. I know he's chasing it, but I guess with a dog and a cat, when they're chasing stuff, they really put their weight down on their paw to stamp on it essentially, or put their hand over it. I think it would be nice to have that as he's chasing it. You really feel the weight of his feet come down a lot heavier.
Stamp on it,
yeah, because he's trying to stamp on it essentially, but he's just kind of making steps, and then he falls. So it might be nice to just get a bit more. And like you say, with him crashing down to the ground, you want to feel the weight a lot more of him slamming down.
Because that doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be. I don't know.
Keep draft, I think.
It could be, when it comes up, it'd be up to there, and then literally
down,
instead of 1, 2, 3, up to here. Instead of 1, 2, 3, could be 1, and then a second one recovery would be a slam. You could try stuff like that and see how it goes.
Just so you feel the weight. Like there, for example, like if you go back, I can't draw on your square. Let me just, down here, the leg could come up higher, and then it could just slam down a lot heavier, and you can feel his body weight go down.
Yeah.
He's really trying to stamp on this thing. Because I guess you said you looked at your dog for reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How closely did you try and match the dog, or did you pull away from it? What was?
Oh, I mean, I pulled away loads because I used 15 different references.
Okay.
I did tend to mix them quite, I like mixing loads and loads of references in, so then I can have quite a lot of freedom to make something new. I don't like road to scroll that much.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think
maybe
it's just
a little jump on it as well.
Sorry, Chris?
Yeah, I was just wondering, kind of just like here, it's like it holds, you could just, boom, jumps on it. But yeah, okay. Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to ask?
Yeah, actually, I have a question, because sometimes within animation reels, some people says that you'd be recommended to kind of show the breakdown, so a little bit of references, blocking. Is that, I don't know, because I got told to do it in 3 different ways, and I don't really know which one is the most right way to do it. So one way they told me was not to add the end. Other way to tell me was put it into the show reel, and then another way that they told me was give a second show reel just for breakdowns. But I don't know what's best.
So I guess I personally, and I guess they're all personal, would do all 3. No, I'm joking. I don't do all 3. I guess I would put it in the reel as a picture-in-picture. So I just quickly draw over this with the zoom, because it doesn't matter so much. Where's the annotations? Where is it? Oh, here it is. So I guess I would put maybe some reference out of the way here if you wanted to, wherever it's not getting in the way of anything. Myself, just so they have something, so they know you're looking at reference and you've captured yourself or whatever else. You could do it as a different reel. My only concern about that would be is if you give them 2 reels, A, they could look at the wrong one, B, they might just go, I'm not looking at 2 reels, I haven't got time for this, so it might not get through. So trying to get as much as you can in 1 reel, I think would be best. The only other thing I'm just going to quickly say about your reel now that it's caught my attention is, because this is such a big block of color and it's so bright, and I know it changes from shot to shot, I can't stop looking at it now. So I don't know if you just want to, this doesn't need to be so big. I would say like a little sentence down here, or out of the way, would be easier on the eye, because it's so prominent. The important thing I actually want to see all the time is, who is this person? Who is this person? I want to remember this name. So I wouldn't put that on there either. I don't know if you can see my screen. I'm just scribbling all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put the. I know that you have to do that for your submissions at uni, but for your final reel, I would just have your name. I just want to know who this is and what they did. So yeah, and you want to keep this text as simple as possible. So responsible for all aspects except model and rig. I would just, again, if you're just going for animation, just put, rig and model provided by so-and-so, Bournemouth University, or wherever it came from. I know it's going to be your animation because it's an animation reel. I would also say for the other shots, for example, if we go to the book one.
There was just one thing that I just want to show here. When this goes up, that I just noticed, it goes up, the ball goes with the arc, so you go up and then back down.
Yeah.
Your ball, it goes up to the top point, and then whether it's just to do with his legs, he kind of goes up, then it kind of shoots along a bit and then down. Whether that's the momentum of the leg, but you would imagine, can you see it? It's
Yeah.
But I think what might help, if he's gone up, and let me just play it again, I'm just wondering whether you can have a few more seconds of the floating time at the top. Oh, I mean, not seconds, frames. Up here as it, transitions, so he's jumped up quicker, he floats up a bit and then comes back down, quicker, but try not to get it to translate in that way too much.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Jay. Do you want to take over the control?
Yeah, can do. Just in terms of real presentation. Where is this button? Let me clear all that. I'll find it now. There we go. Okay, so screen 3. Yeah, for this, for example, again, I would say you don't need any of that. A, because if you were going for, like you say, compositing as your second thing, it doesn't feel very strong here.
Yeah.
Same for the layout as well and the lighting. So you don't want to kind of say, yeah, this is what I did. I would just say animation. Well, not even animation. Again, we know it's animation because it's in your reel. I would just have your name. Sorry, my pen is just freaking out. I would just have your name here as that's all it's needed, really, just so they know all the time in every shot who is this person.
I mean, at the beginning, you can, it's exactly what Jay says, you don't need that. I would get rid of that, and I would have just down by the corner, I don't think, do you think you need to have your name on it? Oh, no, the name's going to be at the end. It's more like what the piece is, and then you know, if you didn't do all the animation, or there's something specific that you want to show, you can add it. But if it's an animation reel, people, if you're presenting it to a company, if you're sending this reel to get an animation job, then we'll presume that it's animation you're showing to us.
Yeah.
And you could also say animation. So
yeah. I mean, I would say the other thing is with the lighting and the compositing and the layout. It's if they call you in for animation because that's what you've applied for during the interview. If they then say, "Oh, who lit and rendered this?" It's very nice, and you go, "Oh, I did that too." For them, it's a bonus. So okay, great. You know, you've got more skills that we can hopefully utilize and take advantage of. But I think you do have to be careful because this is what I guess students get worried. They go, "I need to get a job, so therefore I'll just say I did everything." But what employees are going to look for are people who can do things well and people who can do things not so well. And if this says I mean, it's all fine here, but if the layout was terrible, they might complain, you know, and say, okay, well, that person can't do that, so therefore they might not be that good at this and that. And again, it's a big block of color. It catches the eye. It stays there. It doesn't need to be there, I don't think. Same for this one.
Was just now I was just interested in the last shot. Was that character, not the animation, the kind of model?
This one?
No, jump back to the talking piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that because the environment there is a plate, right?
No, it's a render.
The environment is all a plate.
Yeah.
It's a matte paint, and I did, yeah.
Yeah, and then the character there.
So the character in the left, the one that is more like a sculpture.
Yeah.
That's actually a photograph. Like I combed that in. That's
okay.
Yeah, I think I have at home.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would just have rig provided by whoever gave the rig. My pen sensitivity is messy, but I would just have rig provided by so and so. You know, you don't need that, and then just sell your stuff. Put a bit of reference here if you wanted to. If not, you know, I wouldn't worry so much about it. But do keep it all in one reel. I mean, this would be nice to have a bit of reference. And if you just have the one block and it switches to different, you know, dog animations. Sorry, my pen is freaking out. So this is the dog that you have. That's its nose. Use the mouse. Yeah, if it switches to different bits of animation reference, great. But I wouldn't clutter your stuff. Say the rig and model was provided by BU. A small little line here. Don't make it the focus. You know. And when I always find the word "except," for example, it almost kind of sounds like a negative. So just, you know, model and rig provided by BU. Because when I see "except," it's kind of one of those, yeah, I couldn't do that, so therefore I had to get it from somewhere else. Kind of, you know, language-wise, I find so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice reel. I'm just thinking about this screen as well, about just making it clearer. Because again, if you imagine they've got a couple seconds to look at it, it's quite hard. Obviously, that's the signature, so we can't read that already. So in terms of clarity, I don't get anything out of that. And then this is, you know, it's a font that's not so easy to read either. This is all easier to read. So and then we got your name kind of twice. So I get a bit confused as to what we should call you. I'm being picky now.
No, that's fine.
Let's come to the end. Does it? Just let's see. Roll Karen rolling.
Sorry?
Karen dragging the timeline to the end. I just want to see what happens.
Yeah, I just want, only because I'd like to just be as clear as possible.
Yeah. So similarly again, as I said before, just for your sake, yeah, I would just keep it.
Just cut there.
I'd keep it on black.
Yeah.
A white font, and then I wouldn't fade out. And you don't have to have it so long.
Yeah, I think that was a great tip that you gave to Abby earlier. So I will do that, not cut to black.
Yeah. But this is the most important part on your title, and then this part. I mean, the date is good to have as well. But if you think about everything else, that's all kind of wasted.
She might need a website. Is that her website?
Well, yeah. But I guess if you're going to look at someone's, website as well. But if you're going to hire someone, you need to know how to contact them. You need to know what to call them. And that's it. And you already know they're an animator because that's the reel. But yeah, I'd simplify this. Just make it as clear as possible. So they can call you, I would say. I do like the movement in the background as well. I think this, it kind of gets in the way, the big black thing. I like the subtle motion you've still kept going,
Koala bear,
Yeah.
It's really nice and subtle. I would just have this faded all over and then your stuff here, because it's a really nice touch. I don't think I've seen that in Animreel, that nice little touch there at the end. So, still keeps the movement going, but I just want that and that. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then maybe in 5 years we'll have your signature. And actually, we'll be like, oh God, we should have got a signature. Damn. Yeah, but it's just small tweaks, right? It sounds like we've gone on for a while, but it's a nice solid piece of work. It's coming out of university, it feels like a really nice animation piece. Usually I've seen some of those reels where it's the bouncy ball, then it's the warp cycle, then it's a character with arms. You've got a lot more solid pieces in there, which is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean we've literally dived in deep, so
I mean that's good. That's what I wanted. I really appreciate picky comments because that's what makes you get better.
No worries. Yeah, cool. Keep it up. Yeah, I mean it'd be great to see an update if you wanted to as well. Just
I would love to next time. I'll try to address all those things.
Cool. Okay. We'll move on because I guess with time. So just keep drafting. I don't know what that comment was, but so this is Thomas's piece. Are you there, Thomas? Yeah. Oh yeah, Thomas, you said you got no sound, so we'll just have to talk at you. Here we go. Hi guys, I'm here. I will respond here in the chat if that's okay. Yeah, that's fine, Thomas. So Chris, we can say wherever we like.
Yeah, cool.
And he can't fight back so easily. He's going to have to type fast. His comment says, I am sending one frame from my new personal project. It will be a full CG environment. I'm looking for professional feedback on how to improve the shot and some tips. As artist now, I'm feeling stuck, so I'm looking for help.
Okay.
So quick question, Thomas, just so you can write it. It's a still frame. Is this going to be an animated camera? And here he goes. I got
okay.
Create a full CG shot aiming for into movie. Yes. Okay. Cool. So so it's going to be an animated camera, and we're just focusing on this shot. I'm guessing this dude here, is that going to be a character?
That's probably to give you scale size, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it might be. He may replace it.
Oh God. So right.
Yeah. Hang on, he's just going to reply, I think. Yeah, Thomas, is that going to be there's going to be a character there with a big stick of some kind?
Okay.
They always carry big sticks.
Main character, some adventure guy. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a main character, some adventure guy. Okay, cool. Did you want to start, Chris? Or
okay.
I'll let you take the screen and you can draw over. Oops.
So I have to send. Okay, and then I open this one. Okay. Review. So when I initially I think what I'd do is based on it kind of ties into what your camera's going to do. Okay, there's a few things looking at this I would start going for. So was, I mean, it's also telling a story. There's a few things, and I think Jay will go in. If I look at it from an asset point of view, and then maybe we'll let Jay do it from a story point of view and a kind of shot point of view, and I'll kind of just deal with the kind of asset point of view here. First off, these rocks, I think on some respect, this looks a bit, on one way, the shaders of these, they look a bit too specular. They need a bit more work. They need a bit more, even in some respects, one rock to the other rock doesn't feel like they're in the same environment. This rock looks very much different from where you'd find possibly this rock. So I think to gel them together, make this, if this is supposed to be some craggy bit of a mountain with boulders, I think what would be good is whether you get some scan data that then you work up that where did you, it'd be nice to find out from Thomas, where did you get these from? Can you respond?
Can you? Chris, give him a second.
Okay. I did them as airbrush. Okay, all by handmade. Okay, what might be good, because there are stuff that I've found out there that, you know, I have also played in Denmark by using kind of vector brushes to create rocks and stuff. But what always helps is initially, if you've got a big area that you want to cover, I would first of all find as much scan data and actual rock brushes that you want. Then if you're going to cover an area this size in rock kind of footage, what I would do is first off, you know, place what you have in the area. Then you can do something like, you can reproject that onto a surface. Then, because what you need is a light base mesh to start with, something that mimics, if this is all one piece, right? And then you place smaller rocks into this scenario based on your move. So it's, what's the, and texture and substance, okay. How I would do this? I think, the best way would be to try and get your underlying rock surface all in one light mesh first, and then work the detail on top of it. The way I do that is kind of finding the right reference you can. I'm sure there's enough scans out there that you can bring into ZBrush and reuse. You can also find some vector brushes to use, and then once you've got that, and once you've got the detailed version, then using that, bring it back into Substance so that you get the occlusion mask and everything that you want. I feel, has this bit come from a scan, or was that projected on from a brush? Okay, makes sense. I'll try and make. Okay. Okay. I think because I've done a couple of things with different. Okay. And you used normal maps, did you? Oh yes. Okay. That's probably right. Okay. And what do you think you're going to render this with? Are you going to use displacement, or do you want to keep? Is it going to be light? Is it for games? Definitely displacement. Okay. So in that case, if it's going to be displacement, once again, I would get everything set up correctly. What's this? Movies or game cinematics. Okay. So, what was the library that you can get now for Unreal, Jay?
Megascans.
Megascans. Megascans have a lot.
You can use it in Maya as well. But...
Yeah. If this if this is for a personal project, I think you can have a bit of access to get the Megascan data.
Yeah.
To create some nice rock surface. So I look into that. And also working with displacement. If you are going to use displacement, you need to have, the key thing is in your base mesh to have the volume that covers this area. You can always, for secondary smaller rocks, you can always add it in. But for generally, the general base, I would try and get the volume in there. So then you get a nice flow. And it will help when your camera goes over that if we have this rock, but you want something that's underneath that's rocky, at least you'll have that covered in your base here. I think that's what I'll talk about the rock. So I feel your foliage, well, sorry, I don't know what happened. Okay. I need to just kill this. I think your foliage here, it's too similar. I would break this up a bit more, like this tree to this tree to this tree. What do you use to generate this foliage? Do you use speed tree? Okay, forest pack for using, okay. I mean, I think what Jay and might say as well is with all of this, I mean, I'm giving comments, but what it needs to tie back to is always going to be reference. And a key thing is reference is golden. How all, sorry, go on, I need to undo that. How, if we were to find this in real life, what would a hillside with all this look like? I think would be key. I think you can make a thing whether there is a specific, you need to lead your eye into this. So whether you lead it with the foliage, whether there's patches, you've got some different varieties of tree that lead into it. This building, I mean, this bridge here, you've got, it's very sharp and very crisp. I feel it feels a bit too clean in certain areas and some kind of bespoke dirt. I'd rather have, like, you know, definite streamlines of age that would help with this to sell it a bit more. Maybe even a crack in the wall or something breaking up. It doesn't feel that it's gelling, especially like connection points would help as well. I think, once again, I mean, these mountains, I do like, I can buy into this, revealing some of the rocky areas into the tree, and I'm not so worried necessarily about the foliage, even though now if I look carefully, it still seems that you've got a few different assets and you're just kind of spreading them randomly across the surface. I think you need to direct it a bit more to lead the eye. Jay, do you want to take over in terms of a kind of directional?
Sorry, I was just doodling off screen. Just bad doodle. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I guess the thing that caught my attention is, and let me just share this, and I've got some reference that I've just been downloading while you've been talking, which is it's this one. Is mainly, again, Chris is more asset. I kind of talk narrative, as in what am I looking at and why is the thing that most interests me, and composition, let's say. So what I was looking at is if I look at this as a new viewer and I don't know anything about it. And can I draw? Yeah, I guess we've got this character and I'm going to pretend he's going to have a staff just for the sake of it. And he's there and he's on a mission, and obviously he's missed the train. Now the reason I say missed the train is because the train has gone past and this character's over here, so he's looking at it. It's too late. Mission over. I feel like that's the end of the game or the cinematic. It's too late. And then composition wise, everything is straight down the middle. So although you've actually got some really nice environment work happening, I think the geometry on this, if I just go to the grayscale, let me just, it's in there. You know, some great geo happening here with the foliage.
Yeah.
With the foliage. This is all really nice, solid work. I guess I'm feeling a Moana vibe because it's so dense. And how you've done that, I don't know what did you say? What did you?
I think maybe what I'm thinking is we need a bit more variation. Like it feels, once again, I'd like to see reference to show me what it actually looks like. Because maybe,
unless it is meant to be the Moana vibe. Yeah, you're right. We haven't got any reference of where we're meant to be. And
for example, like you see the tree on the left.
This one.
I mean, as you come in, that breaks it up nicely, and the other one on the other side breaks it up nicely. And yeah, you're right. The geometry for all these things are great, but it's like you've covered it up. I think. Sorry, you carry on, Jay.
Well, I was going to say, I think the way the breakup could happen, though, is two things. One, we need to lead the eye, because at the minute we are just going down here. And usually with concept art, they'll do, the traditional rule of thirds. So if I just pull up some images that I got somewhere. Let me just grab some. And I just grabbed these off the net quickly while you were talking. Concept art will usually follow this rule of thirds where you will have, got it here actually. There it is. So you will have something over here at this point and then something over here. His hammer's almost over there at that point. But we can now lead the eye from there to there. And then if I go to another image, let me just... Sorry, I've just got to take it off screen because there's some dodgy stuff there. Even this piece, this is by Jonathan Opgenhafen. Hopefully I've said that correct. He's a fantastic concept art and I'd really recommend looking at, his stuff. But even with this one, we can see we're leading the eye just in the curve of the character is pointing to Kong. And the other good thing that we've got going here is depth. We're losing detail. This pen is huge, isn't it? We're kind of blurring things out in the background. We've got some nice contrast of dark and light happening so we can see clearly the silhouette of the characters because we're playing with the dark and the light values. And I think that's what's missing as well. Let me just get another image to kind of show this. Here, you can kind of see that we're showing this very strong shape happening throughout there, and there's some movement happening throughout there as well. So we want to lead the eye. That's so the audience gets drawn into it and they feel like they want to find out more about the piece. So let me just get a few more. This is what I think your composition is kind of like, and this is Sabi Menahai, and I'd search him up and have a look at it. But what we got here is our hero or villain with their staff. He should have a staff. And then we've got the focus point. And again, if we break this up, we're following the idea of almost the rule of thirds. We've got something here, something there. We've got direction. And it just allows us to lead the eye, and everything supports that. And then on top of that, you can see we're playing with dark values. So it's very clear where this figure is against the lighter value of the snow. Then we've got the darker value again against the brighter sky. So everything is always clear when you look at the image. You're not having to figure out what's happening and why. Another example, Sabi Menahai. characters, they're in shadow, but very clear because it's brighter around them. And then we've got the focus point. So if I just do this, not quite down here maybe, but we know we're leading the eye. And then we've just got these subtle details to lead the eye as well, a bit more story happening. But again, you can see this building is dark, there's light behind it. So I think your piece is just missing kind of that element in terms of story. And then lighting is just that drama that you get from shadow, bright area, shadow, bright area. I've got another image here. Again, in terms of leading the eye, this is Sabi Menahai again. I just Googled him quickly because I knew I'd get a good batch of good pieces very easily. But you can see here who creates this great, I mean, this is based on Rembrandt. So Rembrandt, or the old masters, if you look at paintings and, you know, art, composition and things like that, you'll find tons of good stuff. Like Constable, I'd be tempted to look at for paintings and landscapes, maybe. Turner, people like that. But lighting also leads the eye. So we've got these dark values, we've got the bright values, we've got dark values again happening. So all of this is in shadow. These characters are bright. And then we've got a bit more shadow happening here, a bit more shadow here. So we're surrounding the light, you know, look here characters with shadow or vice versa. Let me just see if I've got another image. I think I might have one more. Here's another one. So again, you know, if we break this up, we kind of got this here. We're kind of off again here, but, you know, we have direction. We're not just looking down the middle of the screen. We're looking over here. We can then take in the temple and all the other details, but we have this story happening. And we have this dark and light play once again. So I think coming back to your piece, it just feels like it needs some of that. It just needs, you know, maybe these rocks here, maybe you can just put them into shadow. And then the character will be bright. You know, he'll be visible. Let me give him his stick. And then to make him visible, maybe the whatever you've got here, the bushes and the trees, maybe they'll be in shadow as well. So that means this part is going to be light here. And then everything else might be slightly darker. And then that leads us to the train, which will be a bright part again. And then this will be dark again. So again, just play with that kind of, you know, those value changes. Because our eye is naturally going to go to the brightest part of the image. This pen is tiny, isn't it?
I mean, once again, I mean, if you...
So if we do this, sorry, very quickly, it's going to be crude as anything. But if we just do that, our eyes are naturally going to go to the brightest part of the image. And obviously don't make it black, make it, you know, different shades of gray. I'm just doing this very roughly because I can. But if I just do that around him or her, and this, I'm just over exaggerating, but very easily I can pick out the two main things that you want people to focus on, which is going to be that guy or girl and this thing here. So play with the value for story,
so
and then
probably move them the other way around.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing, which is don't know why this is frozen now. Oh, it's just a single. I think it has frozen. Let me just go back. Here we go. So yeah, my other thing would have been this character. I feel like I want around maybe here, and maybe you've got a reason why you've you know, placed them where you have, and if you have and that's valid, then by all means stick to it. But maybe the train could go there, or even back here, maybe. So now we know, you know, it kind of says, this guy or girl wants to get on that train over there, and he has a chance. There's an opportunity to do that because the distance between them, there is a gap between them where this person trying to get on that train, it's gone. You know, so we might as well lose interest in the rest of it. there's no hope there essentially. So I would play with the composition slightly, and then I would just play with the lighting to not make everything so evenly lit, which it is at the minute. Everything is very everything is evenly kind of lit. I would break that up, although obviously we can see some shadow here and so on. It doesn't feel like there's enough contrast in there, and there is some breakup here. It doesn't feel like there's enough contrast in there. Yeah, so your comment is, so what would be a recommendation for composition? Move the train or character to make that an interest point, and with lighting it's okay to fake lights. Yes, definitely with lighting. In filmmaking, everything is cheated for drama. Everything. So firstly, I would move the characters just to give us more of a story point happening, and then I would make them possibly the brightest things in the scene, not by shining a bright, light down on it, but playing with the light throughout the shot to bring them into focus, essentially. If you look at Roger Deakins, you can see my screen. Let me just pull up the internet. If we look at Roger Deakins, Blade Runner 2049. Images. Here we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Just focused all on him in shadow. There's story there. I mean, he's down the center, let's say, but look at this stuff. It's great. If we look at the lighting, let me find another shot. This is a fantastic lit set. Obviously, you're not going for that look, but everything leads the eye. This part just leads to this section. So focus on that. They're lighting for story. They're not lighting for match reality so much. They are lighting to push the narrative, push the story. Here's a good image. So add some mystery, add some drama, play with light, make us question what's happening, make us question why does he want to get on that train, and so on. I would say, give us a reason to. Yeah,
I mean, because you're asking, the camera move, it could just go, up, just like from and the train's going to go past, but then you're just going to question, like, why is he watching it? Whereas if it's there, you're already in. Because if your thing is the train should start from, maybe for this whole shot, depending on how long you've got it for, or you were thinking maybe turning it around, or I was thinking possibly, I'm going to do it on one sec.
I would possibly just keep your camera move very simple.
So that's what I was thinking. If anything, it would be, going up slightly. Up
or to the, I've got to the side, you've got going up slightly. Up might be nice because we kind of want to get up there. So you kind of just shift that direction.
If you're trying to, you can start it out, and depending on how fast it's going, it might just get to, depending on how long your shot is. To tell the story, it depends on how far you are.
But you're not faking the lights, let's say, you're using light for story. And again, every shot you'll see on set, they don't light it like the real world because everything is evenly lit. There's no focus points. Everything's lit for a purpose, for the story. You want to lead the eye. Sorry, I'm writing lead the eye, lighting. Disney do it extremely well with composition as well. I don't know what we're going to get images. Why is that? Oh, light the eye. Sorry, lead the eye. This isn't what I wanted either. But if you look at Disney composition film, his name is Hans Bacher. It's a great book. I think I've got it. Two good books. Bruce Block. It's a nice simple one for composition. The Visual Story by Bruce Block. is a good one, if you can see that. And I've got a Hans Bacher book here, which is fantastic for composition. Oh, here we go. So I'd recommend Framed Ink, which is going to be fantastic for your lighting sort of reference and value study, because he does stuff for film. Let me just pull up a few good ones. Don't know if you can see that.
It's kind of small because you're, unless we stop screen share.
Yeah, so it's all light and dark. That's what he's doing. So that's Framed Ink by Marcus Mestra. I'm saying that completely wrong and I feel bad. And then Hans Bacher, Dream Worlds, which has got some great compositions in there. And again, a lot of the images, if I find stuff, are usually just playing with dark and light.
Yeah, I mean, key like Sin City.
All the Lion King stuff. I don't know how much you can see. So, definitely check them out, because it's. I always find a lot of composition, good composition, will kind of mimic a lot of what's in some of these books. They're pretty classic for that kind of thing. So, yeah. But again, it's coming along great. I think the geometry you got in there, you've done an amazing job of getting all that geo in there. Like Chris said about the rocks, they do feel like they're not as strong geometry-wise, so they might need some cleanup. I was also looking at the bridge, and again, maybe a lot of this can be cheated later on, but it just feels like it's not catching enough of the light. These edges feel very straight.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff depending on your, if your camera move's not that big,
yeah,
then you can look at also a kind of 2.5D solution as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. With the rocks and stuff as well, right? Just project textures onto it.
Yeah.
Just to break it up. Yeah. It'd be good, actually, if you wanted to, for next time, maybe just bring the reference of what you're trying to get. Like, hey, here's some images I'm trying to get a similar look and feel for, and then we can use that as a guide, to help out.
So, I mean, he's just asked a question about jobs and environment. So, in the movies, for getting a job it'd be like MGen, right? So, to show that you've got an understanding of the stuff that we're talking about is kind of key for MGen.
MGen being environment generalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, before it used to be just matte painting work, but now we combine it so that a lot of people who do that have a strong idea of composition, shape and stuff, but they also can jump into basically have an understanding of 3D, what you've got, and can jump in and work. They don't have to work, they can work slightly, when I'm saying 2.5D solutions, where they can project stuff and they can manipulate their models for their best advantage. I mean, Sabi works in that field as well.
Yeah.
It's a broader understanding, whereas if you're in a build department or an asset department, you have to work more rigidly, whereas if you're in an environment department, you can be a bit more flexible. You don't have to, you can be a bit more dirty with your geo in a way if you're going to project on top of it. So it's good, it's quite fun actually in that aspect.
Yeah, you'll be a bit looser. As much as they'll want you to toe the line for assets, especially for shading, you'll have a bit more freedom. I think this again, if it was lit well and it had a bit more story and a bit more direction, it will be a really nice piece. And if you did have, you've mentioned you've got 2 more other environments with the same quality. I think if they were all raised just a bit more, then it would really, 3 pieces is plenty. 3 pieces really solid with a bit of a breakdown of each one would be plenty for your reel. I would even say if the camera move isn't great, don't put it in. Just keep it more.
Just keep it simple, I mean, you'll have movement in there of like the fog that you've added in, something subtle and a little, little moves for these things. Because if you're wanting to get into that environment stuff, you don't want to be putting big moves, because if you start putting big moves, then you're that's where you would actually convert some of these objects and stuff into proper assets. If you need to go round something, then that becomes an asset and not an environmental job.
Yeah, so keep it simple. If you are doing a camera move, just a little pan, maybe a little push in. Don't go crazy with anything. Don't start flying through, especially if everything's not polished. Keep the story clear. So don't worry about suddenly, going through here and then back up again, etc. Maybe, if you want to do the image, small move, maybe train passing through, and then do a breakdown where you have the camera flying through it, and with all the trees flying down, stuff like that coming into position.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a number of reels where that looks nice as a breakdown, but don't go crazy with camera. Keep it simple. And 3 pieces. If you slightly up the game on them, that'll be great. I'm sure that'd be really nice. Are you a student, Thomas? You're studying, or doesn't tell you if they're typing. Oh, I am a CG artist at commercials. Okay, cool. But yeah, so 3 solid pieces. Get the story in there. Make the person looking at your work think about what's happening, and therefore why should they call you? Hey, what was going on in this piece? I'm going to give them a ring and find out, kind of thing. That always helps, I reckon. So cool. Okay. And I want to move to movies. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think all it needs is a bit more, 20-30%. All the geos there, just needs a bit of a push here, and it's looking good. Cool. Okay. We did have one more, but I think we'll look at that next time, because it's getting on a bit. So I think it's just so it's on the video and they can see this. Let me pull up Shotgun. It was Joanne. So on Friday, we'll look at your work, Joanne. I know you're not here because it's like 4 a.m. where you are. So we'll check out your work on Friday and give you some feedback. Cool. Has anyone got any questions or anything else?
Unmute them.
Sorry?
Should we unmute them? So maybe.
Oh, no, they're already unmuted.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah. So if not, sorry. I think they're unmuted. Yeah. They should be.
I can see they've all got mute on them. Okay.
I think they did that themselves.
Okay.
Maybe not. Anyway, cool. Okay. If not, I'll see you, maybe on Friday. If you got updates, send them through, or we'll see you in the next week or so. We've got Pat Imre joining us on Friday, who's a kind of VFX artist. And then on Monday, we've got Ross Wilkinson, who is a CG, he's the head of 3D at Lola Pictures. So if you want to ask, again, tag along to ask these supervisors, heads of 3D questions. It might be useful for your reels and stuff like that. So, all right, I'll see you later. Cool, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing your next version. Sounds good.
It'd be great. Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. I'm going to end this. See ya.
See ya. Bye.